Hello everyone and welcome back. I'm your host, Veteran Mountain Man. And yes, I know I'm actually showing my face for the first time. I hope you all enjoy this. So today is a Prepared Monday and I wanted to talk about how to pack your bounce bag or your go to hell bag or whatever you want to call it. Now, I've got a bag here that I'm going to use as an example, and this is a 3-day assault pack Molly gear bag. Now, when packing something like this, one of the things you want to take into account are the other people you're working with. Realistically, if at all possible, you should all be carrying the same storage system, such as this. But if that's not possible, then there are several alternatives. Now, one of the things you want to do is to make sure that when you pack this, you pack it in such a way that things you need most accessible are in the outside. Things that you need next most accessible are on the inside on the top, and then things that you need the least are at the bottom on the inside. Now I'll give you an example. So inside here we have a rather large open compartment. It's a single compartment. Now this is designed to take a Molly hydration system, so I would always recommend that you install your Molly hydration system first if you're going to use one. If not, you can actually attach one to the outside of the pack using the Molly straps. Now, that being said, when you go to pack this, I would recommend packing your bulkier clothing at the bottom. So like jeans and an overshirt or two when you pack your bounce equipment. I recommend long sleeve overshirts over t-shirts. I do also recommend including a few t-shirts in here. Then followed by undergarments and socks on top. Now this does have some additional storage pockets in here, which are great for storing smaller items that you'll need less frequently. So in here I would put possibly some additional rations or maybe backup batteries for my flashlight and my GPS system. Now in the next exterior bag, you've got some additional pockets, including a zipper mesh pocket, which is great for small documents, money, things of that nature. You also have some compartments to put pencils or pens, some waterproof paper, maybe your fire starting kit in this larger pocket, and then some other tactical gear that you'll need, including, say, your tarp in this next pocket out. Now on these outer pockets, they are specifically built to hold smaller items that'll need to be compartmentalized, maybe a backup sharpener, a backup compass, maybe some field rations in this larger pack here, in this smaller pack here, and then in here you've got some additional pockets for additional storage of different items. Now, one of the things you want to remember is that when you're packing your bag, there are certain things that you're going to want on the outside, things that you're going to need to set up your camp, things that you're going to need in order to actively maneuver when you're actually leaving a facility. So if you're going to attach like a gun holster onto this, you want to attach it on the outside. An entrenching tool is another fine option to attach to the outside. And here on the front, I would recommend adding some expansion storage bags, such as a Molly bag for a FAC or an IFAC, an individual first aid kit. I would recommend adding perhaps a few ammo pouches or a canteen holder. Also here on the bottom, so that you don't have to pack your stuff sack and your sleeping bag inside, you can actually attach another bag down here, including several expansion bags using the Molly webbing. Now, one of the things people tend to do is overpack these things, so be sure to keep your weight down so that you can move easily with it. Make sure that it's something that somebody else can carry in the event that you get injured, because somebody else will have to carry your gear as well as their own. So don't overpack it too heavily. Now that being said, the Molly system is realistically the best expansion system. And in fact, I've got another bag here which uses a very similar Molly retention system, but has got different types of pocket selections. Now you'll see here I've got a morale patch on this one. I don't have one for this one just yet. I've actually ordered one. Amazon.com has a great selection of morale patches if you're wanting some, and I would recommend at least getting a morale patch for your IFAC, which states medic or has a red cross on it, so that people who see your gear when you're injured know where your medications and the first aid equipment are at a glance, and they don't have to go digging through your pack. It's very important to have that IFAK on the outside and clearly labeled, because injuries happen in a scenario where you're having to evacuate, and they happen quite frequently, especially when you're in unfamiliar territory or in territory that you don't visit very often. Now, in storing your equipment, you need to make sure that you're not storing things that you use on a daily basis. So it's good to have a backup set of gear specifically for your bounce bag that you know will work, that is either duplicates of the equipment you use on a regular basis to train, or is the equipment that you train with and then store away and then use other equipment when you're not training. And when I say training, I mean actually practicing evacuation, actually practicing some of your survival skills, spending time out in the backcountry, learning to do your water filtration and building an improvised shelter and things of this nature. Now, something else you'll need to consider, especially if you're in a moist climate or anywhere that gets decent rain, is you will need wet weather gear. And the wet weather gear I'm going to recommend that you put in a separate pack on the outside of your gear shell. And the reason being is it's easier to get into that outer bag and not soak the interior of your pack trying to rifle through for it, because that gear will be bulky. So use those molly straps to your advantage and attach it on an exterior facing area that's easy to access. You might also want to make sure it's clearly labeled or differently identifiable from your IFAK, so that in the event that somebody has to grab your wet weather gear while you're injured to create an improvised shelter, such as using your military spec poncho or something of that nature, it's easy to find and readily available. Or if you need somebody to pull it out for you because you're on Overwatch and then hand it to you or something of that nature, it'll make it easier for them to determine what you're needing and how to get access to it. I hope that this is kind of illuminated for some of you who are beginning preppers or who are trying to figure out how to best equip your bounce bag for survival. Also, make sure that you waterproof and weatherproof your gear. Now, I recommend a good high-intensity silicone spray. I actually use Camp Dry, but Scotchgard makes a decent one. There are several other brands on the market, and each one is fairly useful. Now, that waterproofing will wear off, especially with washing or with use. So you need to make sure that you keep a good reminder set up so that you can reapply your waterproofing. Now, if you don't want to deal with waterproofing your gear on the exterior, there are things such as dry bags or wet weather bags, as the Army and the U.S. military call them, which are a waterproof rubber-sealed internal stuff sack that you can put inside systems like this to keep water from bleeding through the outer canvas and into your gear inside. If you don't want to exterior waterproof, I would recommend investing in a few of those, and they come in a variety of sizes. Now, they were originally used with the old Alice gear from World War II through to the Iraqi First War. And they are very good at what they do. The big problem is they don't breathe. So when you go for long-term storage, you'll need to make sure that you include something that is anti-insectoid inside it, such as a cedar wood block for long-term storage, which will help maintain humidity inside the bag and will also act as a bug repellent. Well, I want to thank you all again for joining me. Please don't forget to check out my social media sites down below and follow me on my other channels. And don't forget that this channel runs exclusively off donated support. Thank you all very much, and have yourselves a beautiful